Good morning. How you going? So what you need to know is that this year alone, oh, by the way, I'm going to be pacing alongside here, so there's a good chance I'll fall. So if I fall over the edge, if someone could pick me up, that would be awesome. Thank you. I've got a volunteer. It's great. $1.3 trillion this year on digital projects. $1.3 trillion, which is great news for you guys because it means you're all going to be employed for a long time. It's also a coincidence that that's the amount of money that my kids expect me to spend on presents when I travel internationally. That number's going to reach 2.1 trillion. 2.1 trillion by 2021. That's what the IDC group estimate. So there's never been in greater demand to be a digital project manager, which is great news. That's great news. The bad news is that most projects generally fail. On average, most projects generally fail. On average, around about a third of projects worldwide, and it doesn't matter where you are or what kind of projects you're doing, will fail based on time and cost. And traditionally, that's how we measure the success of projects, time and cost. Traditionally. So I kind of want everyone on this side to stand up. I know you've got your laptops and it's super awkward. Stand up, stand up, stand up. From about here onwards, these guys all up. All right, so statistically, you guys are going to be successful. Let's hear it. Woo! Woo! Really? Really? All your hard work? You're going to be successful. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. You guys suck. All of you. You're so bad. You're like the worst. Geez, you're not learning from the same mistakes over and over again. But we do this in project management. It's still like an assumed skill. For those of you guys in agencies, someone will have said to you, right, what I want you to do is manage this project. And because you're really keen, you go, okay. Can I go on a course? No. Just get started. Right? We call it just do it projects. Nike projects. Just do it. Just do it. But I need to plan. Just do it. Can I go to a conference? All right, one conference. And it's this one. It's always this one. And the main reason that projects fail is because those in charge of projects don't become role models for this thing called transformation. Too often, digital projects or any projects, it's just seen as a time-boxed piece of work that needs to be done. And we forget that it starts with ourselves. It starts with you guys. It starts with the people who commission the work in the first place. And what you've got to do is you've got to set the example. You've got to be the difference. You've got to show other people how to behave and how to work. And our world has changed. And what we expected from people leading projects 10 years ago is not what we expect today. So what I'm going to do over the course of the talk is give you an idea of what's expected of you and some of the changes that you can make. Now it's fabulous to be here. Fabulous to be here in Memphis. And you know, I'm influenced by that Memphis guy. One of my all-time heroes. It's just be amazing to be in the place where he's from. You know what I'm talking about, right? Ric Flair! Woo! Woo! Good old Rick. Quickly moving on from Ric Flair. So as Brett said, I'm from the UK. I'm from Liverpool in England, where the real rock and roll stars are from. The real ones. Although John Lennon famously said that before Elvis there was nothing. Before Elvis there was nothing. And Elvis is the root, man. He's the root. From Liverpool in the UK, I spent 6 years working in New Zealand. I was offered a job there and I was definitely going to move to New Zealand. And I live in Australia. I live and work in Melbourne and then travel the world to speak. If you want to follow me on, if you want to listen, let's get sharing. There's not enough that's being shared in the project management world about what we need to do differently. So feel free to take as many photos as you want. If you're going to troll me on social media, that's cool. Just be funny. No one likes a lazy troll. I spoke at an event in the US last year and someone tweeted, Colin Ellis, he's a dick. I mean, that's like the laziest thing. Think of all the things you could have said. All the things you could have said. All right, and I know at conferences I speak at a lot. Sometimes it can be super awkward with the people around you. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to introduce yourself to the person next to you. If you're sat with people you know, because that's typically what we do, you have to stand up and find someone else or just turn around. Now, what happens normally is we get job title Tourette's. What do? I'm a digital project manager. We can't, that's not what you do. That's your job title. It's not what you do. What do you do? Do you lead? Do you motivate? Do you inspire? What do you do? Or do you have to deal with UX people? Oh my God. There's a whole other story there. All right, so you got 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes with the people around you to introduce yourself, where you're from, and tell them what you do. Okay? Go. Okay, great. Thanks for sharing. Thanks so much for sharing. Obviously, I could just let that go on for 45 minutes, but this really wouldn't be much of a keynote speech. We flew him all the way from Australia, and all he does is get people to talk to each other. So many great stories, and we can't help ourselves. You're more than a project manager. You're defined more. There's more to you than just your job title. It's really, really important that you remember that because you are expected to be a role model. So when we look at this thing called transformation, when we look at this thing called digital, and kind of digital transformation is just the latest consultant's buzzword designed to make billions of dollars. Like it's just a natural evolution of business, right? It's got to be, because if you're not going digital, then what are you doing? Really, what are you doing? And so for you guys as digital project managers, or if you're working in digital agencies, working with clients, this is key. It's really, really key because in order to be successful, it depends on these three things. Who you are as a person, as an individual, as a human being. How you behave outwardly that people can see and hear. And also, crucially, what you build. And I talk to a lot of to project managers and say that, they've got 3 jobs. They've got to build a team, build a plan, and deliver a product. 3 jobs. That's what they do. Build a team, build a plan, deliver the product. Quite often we jump numbers 1 and 2, which are the most important bits in order to do number 3 really, really well. Now, I'm not saying we don't have a can-do attitude, but there's a right way to do things. There's a right way to do things. So I'm going to give you a little insight into what this is. And you have to know yourself. You have to know who you are and what you're about. Have to. You have to have that vision for yourself. What do you want? What are you striving to achieve? The most inspiring people that you've ever worked with and listened to are people who just had their passion for something. It was just something that they had. It was an energy. It was electric, and you're magnetized to it. And they're the people that create great teams. They draw people in because they've got that real awareness of who they are, what they're about. Also, they're great at humility because they know the things that they're not good at, and they elevate other people. And they say, hey, listen, I'm going to defer this to somebody else because they're better at it than I am. And we do personality profiles all the time. Here in the US, you spend roughly about $500 million every year on personality profiling. Anybody ever done a personality profile? Yeah, it's kind of a way to find it for the company to find out, how many psychotic people are there. Like, wait, just make half of them redundant immediately. They're gone. And they're really good personality profiles because they give you that insight, but they're useless if you don't take action. They're useless if, as a group of people, you don't find better, smarter ways to communicate and do things. Too often, we get a little thing, it's printed out, there are some colors on it, and then we throw it in a drawer. For one day only, we're like, oh my God, it's amazing. That's how you all speak, by the way. It's amazing. It's like my mom was following me. And it is, because that's what they're designed to do. But they're all based on the theory of personality by Carl Jung. He did this in the early 21st century. All of it is still done. So essentially, you've got 4 types of digital project manager. You've got 4 types of person, but this is a digital project management summit, so it's all about you guys. It's all about you guys. So what you need to know about this is we've got thinking people at the top. We've got feeling people at the bottom. We've got introverts to the left and extroverts to the right. Introverts and extroverts is the one that we use most often. This is all based on Jung's theory. All based on Jung's theory. Now, it's not that any one of these is right or wrong, although your personality is drawn to your profession. So if you like public speaking, you're going to do the bottom right. You're going to be mainly one of these project managers. All right, but I'm just going to walk you through this. I'm going to get you to do a little bit of self-reflection and then talk to the people around you. So if you're a detailed project manager, then you like working alone. That's your preference. You like a process. You like a method to follow. You like to know that there are steps because it makes it easy to do. You're very keen on quality. You want to make sure all of the boxes are ticked. That's what you will say. You will talk in bullet points. Number 1, number 2, number 3. That's how you will talk. That's how you send your emails. 1, 2, 3. What I need to know is, that's what I need to know. You like punctuality. You were the guys who were here before everybody else. Because you knew if you were late, you would have to sit at the front. Nobody wants to sit at the front. But you like that. You like punctuality. Detailed. If you work in an open plan office, it kills you if you're a detailed person. We still think open plan offices are a good thing. They're awful. They kill collaboration. It's not the other way. Ridiculous. So what do? You put the headphones in. Some offices are so noisy, you've got like headphones that you see at the airport. You go, come on, I can't hear a thing. I have no idea what's going on. All right, if you're the people project manager, there's so much that we can learn from you about empathy. And our world changed post-global financial crisis. It changed. We're much more empathetic these days. And as project managers, you're in the communication and relationship business. That's what you do. You have to be masters at communication. You have to do it better than anybody else. You have to build and maintain relationships, even with the idiots you don't want to work with. And there are a few of those. You like coaching others. You like harmony. You do everything over a coffee. Let's get a coffee, shall we? Where should we do the meeting? Let's go for a coffee. Because it's just a little bit more casual and relaxed. It doesn't feel as serious. You're very loyal. You're fiercely loyal to your organization and to your teammates. That's what you do. And you want to make sure things are done for the right reason. So you ask lots of questions so that you fully understand. Because you know you've got to motivate a team of people to do this thing. So you want to make sure that you've got all the answers before you start. Now, if you're the action project manager, you just want to get shit done. And you'll say that. The people project managers, they don't like it because they don't cuss. Those guys don't do it, but the action people definitely do. They definitely do. A lot. Damn! Wait, what? It's not that bad. They act, then think. They want to keep things moving. They point and they walk purposefully like this, striding away, and you're trying to keep up with them. Slow down. I'm knackered. They like authority. They like logic. They like to understand the risks and then make a quick decision. And if it's not the right decision, they'll stop and they'll say, we got it wrong, go this way instead. And they're very quick to move. Very quick to move. And there's an element of creativity about them. But ultimately, these are the driving force, these people. They will just get things done. Now, in the corporate world, and I work a lot with corporates, so I speak and I do training programs, cultural training programs around project management for organization. There's still, if you've ever got a project that's failing, corporates, what they do is they do the completely wrong thing. They throw in a middle-aged white guy, present company accepted, who's just going to shout at everybody because they think that that's the way to fix it. Like, it's so not the way to fix it. You need the complete opposite of that in order to fix broken projects. But the action project manager knows how to get things done. The social project manager, well, they like the sound of their own voice. They like to think on their feet. They whiteboard everything. They've always got like a set of whiteboard markers. Like, they seem to pull them out of their back pocket. Like, where did you get those from? Very clear. I like to draw pictures. You know, I used to let people say, oh, senior managers are big picture people. They are if they're social. They're not if they're detail. You try being a big picture person with a chief financial officer. Show me the detail. Show me the fact. Where's the spreadsheet? It's all up here. Doesn't work. They like presenting. They like workshops. They're very demonstrative with their hands. They wear accessories and flashy socks and all of the garb. Pocket squares and ties. It's about 90 degrees outside. I'm sweating up here. Not taking the jacket off, though. No way. No way. They love to have fun. They love to tell stories. That's how they get a point across. Sometimes they don't have a point. But they like to get their stories across. Now, what you need to know about all of these is that no one can put you in a box. You're a human being. You're not just one of these things. I'm definitely all of that. Although I definitely am all of social. I'm all of that. All right, you're not just one of these things. You're a mix of all of these things. Your DNA is hardwired to one of these. Unless you have a major life-changing event, in which case it can change. So for those of you who've had children or accidents, these things can happen. Major life-changing events, you can change it, but you've got bits of all of these. So for me, I'm mainly this, if it's not obvious. Then I'm this, then I'm that, and I'm very little of that. The thing that I have to work hardest at, Brett mentioned I've written a couple of books, and I need a process to write a book. Otherwise, it would just be a stream of consciousness that no one would ever want to buy. So I need a process. Interestingly, when I was a permanent employee, and I was a permanent employee in government and the private sector for 30 years, I know I don't look it, do I? I was this and that, because that was my job. And it's only now that I'm a public speaker and a trainer. Obviously, I need to create many more connections here. So no one can put you in a box. So what I want you to do, a little bit of self-reflection with the people next to you. Which one of these do you think you predominantly are? All right, which one of these do you think you predominantly are? The people who you work with are like, I'm telling you what you are. They're the action people. Well, you're blue. All right, I'm going to give you 5-10 minutes with the people next to you. Which one of these are you? Go. And this is really, really important that you understand this, because this drives the way that you communicate. Drives the way that you communicate. Because if you're a social person, then I like to motivate and inspire. Doesn't work with detail people. Me doing this and going, come on! Like, have you ever had that where people tell you to be positive? Just be positive. Oh, thank God, I've been negative for 10 years. I just needed someone to tell me. Doesn't work. You've got to change your style. You've got to change the way that you communicate in order that the other person is appreciative of the message. So you've got to think about, who am I communicating to? What kind of personality do they have? And how do I need to change my style? Because too often what we do is we communicate in our own preference, and people aren't what we call engaged because we haven't taken the time to think about them and the way that they like to receive information. Detail people like an email with everything laid out. Sure, it's a one-on-one conversation first, small group, small room, quick conversation, and then confirm it with an email. Where our people, they do like to maybe sit down and have a coffee and talk about weekends and family and that stuff, and that's important. It's important. Our action people, they don't want to fluff around. In, out, done. Quite often text messages or like a one-line email, come and see me, EOM. What a way to send an email. It's so rude. It's not rude. It's just the way they do things. Whereas a social person, like, everything's over a beer. It's like, listen, we need to meet. What are you doing tonight at 5? You know where that's going. Like, it's like the classic British thing as well. Everything's over a pint. It's like, it's 11 o'clock. It's beer o'clock somewhere in the world. When you get your communication wrong and then you add a dollop of poor behavior, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. And so these are the negative sides of our traits, of our personality, the negative traits of our personality. So you can see for our blue people, it's constant questioning. Show me the detail. Where's the facts? Facts, send me the facts. Where's the audit trail? Audit trail, that's a good one. Where our people have got, they're so great at building relationships, they think you just rock up to them in a coffee shop and go, oh, wasn't Brett terrible yesterday? To try and encourage that little offline conversation, not good. They also don't want to challenge or have confrontations at all. So they avoid doing all of that stuff. Our action people, they're fine with confrontations, by the way. But when there's sustained profanity in there, like, you're wishing all kinds of death on them. I know we shouldn't, but it's like, that's no way to treat anybody and talk. And they just don't have any empathy, or that's how it appears. They don't have any empathy. Whereas for the yellows, when they overdo it, it's just plain arrogance. They've got all the answers. They think they're the greatest at everything. But actually, they don't really know very much at all. And they're relying on people around them to have the knowledge, and they lose interest very quickly. And like I said, our world has changed. There's a bunch of traits that we need to lose as a human race that we have. And we especially see that we need to see this in our work. And this is so important for any kind of project delivery. Because people will remember you for how you behaved. Sure, you need to know your stuff. You need a mix of IQ and EQ. But for too long, we've downplayed the importance of emotional intelligence. We've downplayed it to the point now where we call it soft skills. These are the hardest things to change. The hardest things to change. And we know when we're being the worst version of ourselves, it undermines everything. When we're saddled with emotional baggage, and we've all been there. We've all been there. We know it doesn't feel good. The bad days that we've had is when we felt all of this stuff on the left, where we obviously want to be on the right, and we want to project it. We want to set the example for other people to follow. Because in a way, we're like children. We ape what we see. If we see others doing good things, then we will do it too. And it spreads. It's fabulous. And you end up creating a team that's high in emotional intelligence that wants to get things done in the right way. In the right way. But you will be remembered for who you are and the way that you treat people. People will want to work with you again if you make them feel good. But part of making them feel good is also stretching them. Because we do our very best work on the edge of uncomfortable. Where it just feels a little bit, oh, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. That's what it means to be stretched. It doesn't mean just getting loads of stuff thrown on your plate and told to deliver it by Friday. That's not what I mean. That's stress and anxiety. We don't want to go there. Just a little bit of stretch. But any digital project, anything that you're doing, involves change. And I still don't think that we fully understand that. We expect that we can just implement any kind of product or a new website, and just expect everything to be different. We even invented a profession called change management. Any change managers in the room? Oh, great, I'm just about to bag them. They're rubbish. No. We invented a profession called change management because organizations fundamentally don't understand how to implement change. So they create a role and say it's your job, but that doesn't mean that they understand it. It just means that they've created a role to do it. This is Bain. It involves change at every level of the organization. It doesn't matter whether you're a two-person UX team or whether you're a multinational agency. It doesn't matter. And change, we talk about change all the time. It's the constant, it's the norm, blah, 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 blah. And the thing that we're doing at the minute is we're going agile. Anybody going agile at the minute? Yeah. That's the latest thing, right, in a long line of silver bullets. Agile is the latest one that organizations are saying, to solve our delivery problems, we're going agile. Now, there's nothing wrong with the agile method, absolutely not. I can't stand up here, I've got all of the badges, I've done all of the things. The agile method works. But not in the wrong hands, it doesn't. Because a fool with a tool is still a fool. And always will be. Always will be. And so whenever I talk to people about Agile, I'm like, yeah, just make sure you're not doing these things. Because Agile organizations take the time to understand each other. They build that self-awareness. Not only that, what they make sure is that there's great communication, that we hold people to account. Sure, we pull down some walls, but that doesn't mean that certain people still get offices. That's not what it means to be agile. There's that flexibility of conversation. Also, you get to design your own workspace. The great organization cultures of the world, your Zappos, your Apples, your Googles, Atlassian, software firm out of Sydney and San Fran, you get to design your own workspace that suits your personality. You're not told, oh, we're a hot desking organization. Hot desking works for me. I don't want to sit next to the same person every day. Boring. It is, that's just my personality. It's not that you're boring, it's just it's boring for me. Well, not all of you are boring. Low trust and empowerment. Spotify. Trust and empowerment is at the heart of everything that they do. There's no expense policy. It's all done on goodwill. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? But this is why Spotify are where they are. This is why they're revered as an organization. Spotify playlist here. I'm running with Spotify playlist as well. Fantastic organizational culture. So with every with every single project that you do, you've got an opportunity to redefine the way things get done, which means challenging some of the ways that you do things right now. The evolution of project, listen, you guys are in a rare position. You're the first group of project managers ever to be managing 4 generations of people. 4 generations, first ever to be managing 4 generations of people. So not only, woo, go you guys. So not only do you have to understand yourself and the communicate, but you've also got to understand the 4 generations of people who all came from very different backgrounds and want very different things. Some of them just want to stay the same forever. Or they're crossing their fingers that it goes back to the good old days and the good old... It's never going to! This is the good old days, right now, and tomorrow's the good old days. And we redefine every day, but we've got a challenge. The whole concept of Agile is smarter, faster, get value to the customer quickly, but you don't compromise the quality. And so what we need to do is build cultures. And I know there are a couple of talks over the next couple of days about building great teams. And we're losing the art of building great teams. In our desire to go faster and quicker, we forget that actually there's a whole chunk of time we need to spend up front building and defining what it means to be a great team before we start the planning and before we start the work. So a lot of the work that I do with organizations around the world is I do 2 days just to build culture. 2 days to build, define culture, produce a culture deck, similar to those that Netflix do, so that you've taken the time, kind of forced it early on. But great cultures and great teams rely on 2 things. Firstly, on the horizontal axis, they need staff who are the best version of themselves, or at least understand what that means. So there's that self-awareness and how that comes into play. They also need this thing called engagement. And engagement is really just how much of a damn do you give about the project that you're working on and the clients. If it's not much, we've got a problem. Got a real problem. Either you're in the wrong job or you need to get your head sorted and remember what your job is. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. All right, so it relies on high emotional intelligence and it relies on good engagement. So I'm going to walk you through what each of these mean. I'm going to get you to estimate or see where you think you are right now. So stagnant cultures, well, they just stink. Like stagnant ponds in Australia, like spiders, snakes, crocodiles. Stagnant ponds in Liverpool, where I'm from, dead bodies and supermarket trolleys. Often one inside the other just to prove how creative we are. But they're quiet. They're silent. We don't talk to each other. Or we communicate by email, even when we're sat next to each other. Sat right next to each other. We've got this 9 to 5 mentality. Or this is my job and I'm not telling you how I'm doing it. No way. My pension's wrapped up in here. You're going to have to kill me to get rid of me. Or pay me a huge amount of money. I'm going nowhere. They're very good at blocking things and saying, that won't work here. Yeah, nah, that won't work here. Won't work. Like super negative. Because they're disengaged, they're being the worst version of themselves. Now, that's not who they want to be. No one comes to work going, today, I'm going to be the worst employee ever. Today, come on, I need your help. Come on, today. No one wants to do that. Have you ever had those days, right, where you get pulled down by the work, engagement, or the people around you? Emotional intelligence. We don't want to be that person, and we know we don't. But we get pulled down. There's no consequence, and we miss our targets and our deadlines. Stagnant cultures are bad. Just as bad, though, are pleasant cultures where we pretend everything is okay. It's great. Anybody use traffic lights on their project reports? Like red, amber, green? Like this is when your project is totally screwed, but it's still green, and everyone knows it's screwed, and it's still green. But you've got no money. It'll be fine. You've just lost half your team. It'll be fine. We call those watermelon projects. Green on the outside, red on the inside. With bits of black in the middle. You're like, what's that? It's terrible. Look, there's loads of good intent because you're really high EQ, very humanistic. That's fine. Lots of passive-aggressive stuff, though, often late at night. Pleasant environments. You do an email dump on Friday just to get it off your plate and off your head and straight into someone else's inbox. A lot of meetings to talk. And you tell yourself it's going to be really hard. And as soon as you've told yourself it's going to be really hard, what do you think? It's going to be really hard. Because I've told myself it's going to be really hard. So that must mean that it's going to be really hard. Now, I worked in government. Anybody work in government? All right, so I worked in government for 7 years. And it was a lot of this. You know, and I headed up major project departments. A lot of poor behavior. A lot of swearing. A lot of people who kind of treated people just not in the right way at all. Very low EQ. Lots of gossip. Lots of people telling you they're working really hard. I worked 100 hours this week. Wow. You're so bad at prioritizing your work. So bad. They always tell you they're busy. I'm so busy. Oh, great, because no one else is. Busy, I'm busy. We tried that before. Oh, it's a good idea, thanks, but we tried that before. They use friction as a way to get things done. Quite often as well, they'll use people's names. If you don't do it by Wednesday, Brett's going to lose his shit. Not sure that would ever happen, Brett. But they use that kind of language and it just feels, and so high stress, high anxiety, you lose good staff in these kind of environments if you stay here for too long. Stay here for too long. Well, you obviously want to be as vibrant. Where you take the time to agree how we'll behave towards each other. What are the principles that are going to bind our team together? What are those principles? How are we going to interact socially? We have a social calendar. And even if you're a detailed person, you recognize that it's important for the team that you do that social thing. And if you're a social person, you realize that it's important that you take the time to understand quality of things. This is what we do in vibrant cultures. We celebrate every single success. We celebrated the fact that you managed to get here. We started with that. So that's a great way to start any conference. Instead of the traditional project management conference where, good morning, welcome. Where the clicker's not working. Oh, I don't know what's going on here. Look, notice as well, I'm the only guy here with a Windows machine. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. We recognize that getting things done relies on a network of teams. There's no hierarchy, top, bottom. It's just a group of human beings doing their best work to achieve a goal, to deliver value to the client so that they appreciate it and can evolve their business. That's what vibrant cultures do. All right. Next 3 minutes. Where do you think your project is on the quadrant right now? If you're not doing a project, where do you think your agency is? Where do you think your organization is on this quadrant right now? Now, it's got to be a feeling that you have right now. You can't say, we're a little bit of pleasant and we're a little bit of vibrant, right? It turns into the birdie song. We're a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Which one are you right now? Where does it feel? Where's the gut feel right now? All right, 3 minutes, go. So a question I often get asked, and I got asked it again, is how do you do it for virtual teams? Anybody working in a virtual team? So the thing is, right, is you still have to find a way to do this at the start, even if you're a virtual team. Now, if you can't fly everybody to a central location, if that's simply just not possible, then you still have to do something over a video conferencing where you talk about the kind of team that you need to be. You do an exercise where you agree some behaviors, and you're all there and present. You don't allow people to disengage on their laptops during this particular session, so you set some ground rules in order to do it. But you still go through the process of agreeing behaviors and principles. If it's work that people generally don't want to do, and that happens from time to time, we used to call it grunt work, you still create an environment in which people want to do it. So you talk about the kind of culture and you look for ways to celebrate the little wins. Now, if you have a virtual stand-up meeting, you might have a ball that you throw, right? So you kind of practice throwing this ball virtually. You've probably seen this where you can kind of throw it up in the air, everyone buys a ball. Or as the project manager, you buy the ball and send it to them. And so it looks like they're catching it. It's just little things that you can do like that that cost maybe $5, $10 for everybody to buy a ball. It doesn't really matter. But you find ways to interact. This is where things like Slack come in handy because you can use those kind of collaboration channels to create a different conversation and to share ideas that help you evolve as a team, not just make it all about the project. So as you start the 2 days, or for those of you here yesterday, as a continuation of that, for the summit, I want you to remember this. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter what kind of project that you're working on, but the best projects ever are a result of the person that leads it and the environment they create for great work to happen. Ever. The best projects ever. It starts with you and your behaviors. Now, I fully get that people don't always understand what it takes to be the best version of themselves. One of the things I did is I created an online program. Now, it's normally $150, but I'm just going to sell it to you guys for $15 if you use the code. All right? So you might want to take a picture of that. Because I want everyone to understand, and I cover the communication stuff, and I cover how to be that personality. Because I want to give you this opportunity to be the best version of yourselves and to be the best project manager that you can be. I want to close by saying a huge thank you to everyone, not only for traveling from wherever you are, but also for engaging and talking with others. I hope you've got some great conversations to take back to your organization. If you'd like more information about me, you can get it right there. I've got some books with me, a few books, if anybody wanted to buy one. Otherwise, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to chatting in the breaks. Thank you.